Hi, I'm Mia Friedman, and welcome to No Filter. Rusciano thought she was going to be a professional athlete, a hurdler. She met her husband Scott 17 years ago at the Victorian Institute of Sport when she was 21, and she fell pregnant 4 months later. Em and Scott agreed that they would terminate the pregnancy. Scott felt that he wasn't ready, that they weren't ready. Em felt differently, and Marcella was born 9 months later, ready or not. 2 years after that, she was on national television singing her heart out on Australian Idol. Remember that show? Singing contest. Guy Sebastian, Shannon Noel, can't remember anyone else. In the producer's eyes, Em was the jackpot contestant, a young mum who had never sung in public, living away from her family. She made it to the top 12. However, she got sent home after Judge Ian Dicko Dixon told her that she looked like Pauline Hanson. That's probably one of the nicer things he said about the female contestants on that show. Following her return to Adelaide, Em was offered a role as an FM breakfast radio host in Perth with Michael Whipper Whipfley. And that's when things really got dramatic. A decade later, Em is in a very different place. She's learned so much. Her marriage has collapsed more than once, and she's now a successful stand-up comedian, singer, performer, and radio host with some great stories to tell, which she's done in her new book, Try Hard. I've known Em for quite a few years now. We've worked together, we've become friends, and she's a bundle of contradictions. Hard and soft, brittle and sensitive, tough and scared, fierce and fearful. Here's Em Rusciano.
Congratulations on the book, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
A single?
A single.
I'm flicking through something last night and it was like 11 o'clock at night and then your beautiful voice just pops out of my phone.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I did it on the sly. I really did. I've kind of been arguing backwards and forwards with Michael Gudinski because he wants me to do, I'm with Mushroom Comedy now, and he wants me to do a comedy album. And I'm like, dude, I'm not Rodney Rude. Like, that's not, I'm actually a musician as well as a stand-up comic and a writer. So I went and made it myself. I paid for it myself. And kind of, I did it with a guy named Michael Painter, who was on The Voice, who's an incredible musician. He works with Delta and the Veronicas, and we really clicked. And it was about a month ago. I just went to his place, his parents' place, and we recorded it all. He played it all, and I kind of presented the finished product a couple of weeks ago. And everyone's like, "What?" Even my management didn't know, and I really love it. And so everyone's gone mad for it. The radio have gone mad for it. They're going to play it.
When you're on the radio, do you get to choose the music that you play?
No, but I am. It was announced today. I'm hosting breakfast radio nationally for SCA for the Hit Network in December. So I will be throwing to my own song, as disgusting as that is.
Often,
yeah. Hopefully, just throw it in. Plugging my own book. I've got so many things to haul. I made all this stuff this year, and it all kind of came out at the same time. So,
because it was funny when I heard you singing to me last night. I forgot that you're a singer.
Yeah, I'm a singer.
I had totally forgotten that about you because you have been doing so many other things since.
I had to get people to come and watch me sing, Mia. I had to travel another path to be taken seriously as a creator because I was not going to be taken seriously out of Idol. It doesn't happen.
It doesn't, does it?
Only if you're Guy
Sebastian.
Like, that's it. I mean, everyone else... Ricky Lee's still plugging away at it and making some great stuff in LA. I mean, you can name it on one, like, Guy, really.
But it's any reality show.
Oh, yeah. So I had to find another way to make music and have people like it.
Your book's called Try Hard.
Yeah.
What does postnatal depression feel like?
It feels like guilt, and for me, it felt like an out-of-body experience. I was watching myself with a child I didn't have the feelings I knew I should have had for. So I'd had a baby. I knew the euphoria of a new child. I knew how I should be feeling. But every time I reached in to try and find those feelings, I came up empty. And for me, it was just, I went the opposite way. I was numb. So I just compartmentalized every single
This is
thing.
after your second child.
After my second child.
Because I was going to say, how did you know the feeling of euphoria? Is that because you had it with Marcella?
I had it with Marcella, yeah. I mean, I was 22 when I gave birth, and I was like, this child and I would have just gone to the ends of the earth. It's the first time I loved something more than myself, which is a new feeling. Like, I was an elite athlete, and then all of a sudden I got pregnant. So I was the most selfish person on the face of the planet. Everything revolved around me, and it still does.
Did it feel like a relief?
Yeah. Getting pregnant?
Having the world revolve around someone else.
Yes. But also, my body was breaking at a point where I was supposed to be qualifying for the Olympics, and I knew how badly injured I was, but I was getting cortisone injections, I was being pushed. And I think when I fell pregnant, I was so fit, and I just signed a sponsorship deal with Adidas, and all these things were happening, and the Olympics were coming in Sydney. And I remember feeling like everyone's saying, "Oh, well, you can't keep it. Obviously, you've got to get an abortion. This is not. You can't. I'm sorry, but you can't keep it." Multiple people were like, it was a foregone conclusion. And in my
Had you been with?
I've been with Scott for 4 months,
Right.
living together for a week in a 1-bedroom apartment in St Kilda in Melbourne.
Weed on the stick.
Oh my God, Mia.
What did you say to him?
Oh my God. He got home from work, and we sat down, and they were literally packing boxes all around us. We were going to start our new groovy life. It was Valentine's Day.
Oh, God.
And he gave me some flowers, and I destroyed his life. I just said to him, I'm pregnant. And he's like, it just was, that sentence was so foreign to Scott. He just said to me, "What do you mean? How did that happen?" I'm like, wow, we know how that happened. Because we were having so much sex. It was crazy. Because he's so hot and I was so fit and we were so into each other. And I hadn't had very much experience. So, like, I didn't lose my virginity till I was 18, and I met Scott when I was 19. So
wow.
It was amazing. And of course it happened. I wasn't being careful. And when my period stopped, I just thought it was because of athletics. I was so thin.
Yeah.
And then, I told
And
him.
so did you have a difficult conversation about whether to have an abortion?
He just assumed it was happening.
You were 21. He was...
27.
Yeah, right.
And it was so far away in our plans. And I was agreeing. I was going, yeah, of course I'm having an abortion. Of course I am. I made the appointment.
And you went to the clinic.
Went
Was
to
he
the
with
clinic. No, he didn't. I didn't want him to come, to be honest. I was already starting to sow the seeds of cross with him for assuming this was happening. And I tend to go through traumatic experiences on my own. I find it hard to tell other people at the time. I'm really good at recounting it once I've survived it, but when I'm in it, I just tend to barrel through in the fetal position. So yeah, I went to the clinic on my own, and I filled out the form, and I was sitting there, and the lady called me, and before you have an abortion, they go through obviously all the risks involved, and they double check you want to do it. And this lovely lady, I'll never forget, and she said to me, are you sure if at any stage you don't want to, it's not too late in the proceedings to say no? And that kind of clicked with me, and I thought, I'm just going along with this, I think, because everyone else wants me to. And she made me feel okay about not doing it. So I said to her, no, I don't want to do it, actually. And she's like, I don't think that happens very often in abortion clinics. I don't know. And so she's like, okay, is there someone I can call? Do you need to talk this through with someone? And I said, no. And I just in that moment made the decision to become a mother at 21. And I think, I don't know, if she had maybe made me feel bad about it, I don't know what would have happened. We walk around with this sense of not wanting to offend people. So, yeah, I walked out and I went home, and I told my mum I didn't do it. She burst into tears. She was, glad. And I then broke up with Scott.
Right. So you had to ring him and say, babe.
I waited for him to get home from work. I said I didn't do it, and you need to move out. Because I was going to raise this child on my own. It was going to be seen from Still Magnolias. I was going to sit on a veranda, drink tea, grow my hair out, and raise a goddamn child on my own.
Is it because you didn't want to give him the option of rejecting you?
Yes.
You rejected him first?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've continued to do that throughout our entire 16-year relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I hate, and I've gone into the worst profession. I hate rejection, which is, I think, the reason I try so hard at everything to be the best at everything, so no one can say no, not good enough. So, yeah, I was afraid that he was going to say, well, I'm leaving. And he went because I was so angry and so adamant that I was doing this on my own. And then, of course, I was so angry that he went. How dare you abandon me even though I asked you to?
Even though I asked you to. Yeah. That wasn't a test at all.
Such a test.
Can I ask you just quickly to go back on the time at the clinic? How do you feel about abortion now when you look at that? Are you pro-choice?
Absolutely, I'm pro-choice. A woman's body is a woman's body.
Because I suppose, anti-abortionists would say women are always pressured into doing it, and you nearly got pressured into doing it.
No, and I put that in my book. I don't want any pro-lifers jumping on this. I am pro-choice 100%. For me, it wasn't right. For me, I could never do it. And just for me, but I would never judge another woman for doing it. In fact, I know, obviously you would know, I know 20 or 30 women that I'm friends with who have had one or two, one of them even three. So I just I would never judge another woman, but for me personally, and that's, you know, I can't and couldn't and didn't want to.
So you had Marcella and you fell in love. Scott obviously came back at some stage.
Oh, yeah, he was in and out during the pregnancy.
Yeah.
And then he came back just toward the end. And I had her, and it changed everything. It just completely flipped everything
switch.
on its head. Yeah, everything in my life. I was like opening my eyes and looking around at the world, not through the view of how is this going to affect me, more through the view of how is this going to affect my child,
Yeah.
it was a relief. Absolutely.
How long
relief.
did it last?
It lasted a long time. I was just really enjoying, because the only life I'd known was training 7 days a week, watching what I was eating, weighing myself obsessively, going to meets.
What was your event?
I was a hurdler, 100 hurdles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was the only life I knew. It was a really regimented one. And then all of a sudden you have a kid. And there's no, I mean, shit's flying everywhere. You know what's going on. There's no rules. You can do whatever you want. I remember leaving the hospital looking around thinking, are they really going to let me leave with this person? Okay, and they let me. We strapped her into the Hyundai Excel. I was
It's the weirdest drive you'll ever make, isn't it? That one away from the hospital.
And we
where
were
you go,
looking at each other going, yeah.
someone's coming. They must be coming.
This is a joke. They're not going to actually let me
And
take
then you
a
get
unit.
home and you go, oh, what do we do now?
Oh, and the obsessive checking if she was breathing.
Yeah.
I was obsessed she wasn't breathing the whole time. I had a mirror by the bedside to put in front of her mouth.
So when you had Odette, how soon did you realise that it was different?
I realised when I was pregnant, but I didn't say anything. I knew as soon as I found out I was pregnant that things weren't right, because we were in a much better position financially. We'd been together much longer. We already had a child, so it wasn't as big a disaster as it had been the first time.
How old was Marcella?
She was 4.
And you'd done Idol between babies, right?
Yeah.
Or between pregnancies.
And I just started breakfast radio for 92.9 in Perth. I was literally 6 months in when I got pregnant. And
this wasn't planned either.
no. And I didn't want to be pregnant. It was possibly the worst thing that could happen, because breakfast radio is hard enough, and I was new at it and I had to prove myself, and then finding out I was pregnant was a massive inconvenience. And I went through the pregnancy like I wasn't pregnant.
Did you think of having an abortion again?
Nah.
Because you knew.
I just knew.
And so you had her, realised things weren't going well. Did
Straight
Scott
away.
pick up the difference in you?
No, he just put it down to, and I was able to put it down to being tired from getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day. And I went back to work 5 weeks after the Caesar. Like, my stitches were still in.
You're not even meant to drive for 6
No,
weeks.
they were pressuring me to come back because they were worried about ratings, and Whipper and I had gone quite high up, and they were worried about taking a hit. So I was getting phone calls from my boss with a month out. I worked the day I gave birth. I did the show, and then I went to the hospital and gave birth. So there was a lot of pressure for me to be back at work, because the show was centred around my life. And I went back to work, and straight away I just knew. I just started. I couldn't find joy in anything. And I'm like a joy magnet. If I find something that makes me feel good, I will use it all up and rub it all over me. But I couldn't find anything, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was resenting every time my dad cried. I resented her. So I just, one morning, she was 6 months old, just before I got married. So I was planning a wedding. We bought a house. I'd had a baby all within the space of 5 or 6 months. And just before our wedding, I said to Scott, I can't do it. I can't do it today. It was like my alarm had gone off, and I said to him, I can't do it. And he said to me, what? And I said, life. I can't. And that was it. And he said, well, okay. So he called work and said she's not coming in to do the show today. And then we made an appointment with my GP, and we just thought I needed a shot of iron, just some iron.
That'll do it.
That's all I needed. And I sat there and I described everything, and I said how I'm feeling angry all the time and tired all the time and disconnected and numb. And she said, well, you've just checked every box for postnatal depression. Hearing her say postnatal depression, like, my first reaction was no, and then my second reaction was relief.
There was a name for it.
There was a name for it, and maybe I could get better. And so in typical me form, I just went about getting better. Like, I researched it all, and I 100% dedicated myself to getting better. So that meant Reiki, exercise, diet changes, more sleep, being better at saying no, spending time with Odie, like all this.
What about medication?
I tried medication. I didn't like how it made me feel.
How did it make you feel?
It made me feel even more disconnected and a bit space cadetty. I also didn't like how much weight I put on when I was on it. I hated that, as vain as that sounds. I'm a really fit person, and I struggled with that. It made me sleepy. I had so many side effects.
That's a shame because it's not like that for everyone.
I know.
And there are different medications that don't, but you were just like, nah, can't do it.
And also part of me wanted to beat it and not treat the symptoms. Part of me wanted to try.
But postnatal depression's a chemical imbalance.
I know.
God, you're tough on yourself.
Yeah, I know. I still don't medicate myself. I have stuff for anxiety, which I take, like alprazolam. I take alprazolam.
What's that?
It's like not a beta blocker. It's it's in my bag. It's
like Xanax. So
yeah,
you
Xanax.
take it when you're feeling anxious.
When the voices in my head are a little bit loud and I can't sleep at night, I'll take one of those.
Yeah.
But I went into really full-on cognitive therapy to try. Anxiety manifests in me and depression in really negative self-talk, loud, negative.
So that's what you mean when you say the voices in your head.
Yeah, I'm not schizophrenic.
Yeah. Different kinds of voices.
Different kinds of voices.
It's self-talk voices, which we all have.
They're horrible. So I had to learn some coping techniques. And those voices go back to me being an athlete and not winning races or not running a fast enough time and punishing myself and not eating and having to make race weight. And the horrible M has been there as long as I can remember.
Saying, you're hopeless, you can't do this, you're a shit mother.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah. Or you're just shit at everything. Or people are going to realise how shit you are, you're a fraud, all that stuff. But look, they put me on meds, almost for a year. And I tried so many different, and anyone out there who knows who's tried mental health medication, you've got to wait for it to work, realise the side effects, and you've got to wean yourself off it before you can start the new one. So it was trial and error. And by the end of the year, I'd had it. And I just said to them, you know what, I'm just going to try and do this without meds.
Gosh. Did you have to work?
Oh, yeah, I was still doing breakfast radio.
How was that?
Crazy.
And how did you have to go and be, this happened in my life and this funny thing, this amusing anecdote happened last night?
1060, did you fall down the stairs? I fell down the stairs.
And how do you do that? Because so much of it is manufacturing your own life, isn't it?
Yes.
For entertainment.
Yes, and getting content. In the end, I tried not to say anything for ages, and then my behaviour got so erratic at work.
What did you do?
I admitted on air I had postnatal depression.
No, but when you say your behaviour got erratic, what were you doing?
Oh, I was yelling at everyone. I was crying. I was having to lock myself in rooms. Tiny things were driving me to the brink. Just little mistakes that were happening during the show, like our producer not having a guest ready, or the fact sheet having too many facts and just not the dot points that I needed, or just little things, or an interview not being edited properly. I would treat it like it was the worst thing that person had done in the world and they need to be fired, and I was off my head. And
so like you couldn't regulate your emotions?
No, there was no regulation. It was crazy.
So you announced that you had postnatal depression. How did that go down?
I didn't tell them I was doing it. I just said to them...
Did they even know what it was?
No.
Commercial radio?
No.
Oh, what's that?
I didn't tell them, though. I said, I need the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. I have an announcement to make. And they're like, what? And I said, I'm not telling you. Either you let me do it or I'm not coming in. Oh. And they were like, okay. Because they trusted me. I'm a good broadcaster and they know I work hard. And to all their credit, they trusted me with the 8 o'clock hour on Monday morning, which is the biggest and most busy. And I sat down and my co-host had no idea. And I just said, for the past year, it was probably 8-9 months by then, nearly a year. So I've really been struggling with postnatal depression. And both the boys I worked with just they had no idea what to say. She can't make a joke, can't do a gotcha call about
that
postnatal
was way
depression.
before Whipper had kids.
Oh, yeah,
he was like
was
some
young
single guy.
No idea. And they're just looking at me like, what? Because you don't talk about depression on commercial radio.
Bring in, have you had postnatal depression?
1060. This was new ground. This was serious. And I kind of just said everything. I talked about it all. And as soon as I started talking, the phone started lighting up and the station reception phones were ringing and the emails were going into meltdown. And the response was so huge and supportive. But that aside, all my selfish fears were kind of allayed when we started getting calls. Like the calls came, we just talked about it for an hour. We gave an hour of the show to it and we just kept taking calls of men ringing in saying those symptoms, that's my wife and I'm going to go to the doctors with her. Brothers, boyfriend, like it was a really... I'd helped people, and that was the first kind of taste I've gotten of if you're someone with a profile and someone, who struggles, you're able to help lots of people. And then that's a way to selfishly heal yourself. If you can turn the light outwards and help other people, you start healing yourself because you're not so trapped in your problems.
So true.
So I became addicted to that notion of telling the truth to help other people.
Do you think there's a downside to that?
Yeah, you're really vulnerable and open, and people judge you, and they also think that they know you, which is another thing. You become public property more so than just someone who acts on the television, because these people invest emotionally in your life, and so it's really easy to disappoint them. I find, and you know more than anyone. It's sometimes bad words happen to good people. Happens to me all the fucking time.
God, that's a great way of putting it.
When
bad words
happen to good people, and it's just it happens.
Has that happened to you?
Not yet. It's coming. I mean, it's coming. I think the closest I got, people couldn't believe I quit my news.com.au column.
That was a big day.
Oh, fuck them. I mean, I've made friends with Hannah, my editor, again, and they really want me to come back, and they were really apologetic. But that, for me, was the indicator that I'd lost control of my content.
So just explain what happened. So you were writing a newspaper column.
No, someone else wrote a column, an innocuous column.
No, but you were signed to news.com to write a regular
column every week, and which I was already starting to struggle with because I don't think I'm important enough to have an opinion every week on something, and sometimes I just don't care enough.
And also some weeks there's just nothing to say, and then other weeks there can be 3 things to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was also starting to grow tired of the horrible news.com.au readers, not all of them, but they tended to be men in their 50s from far north Queensland, calling me every name under the sun and threatening me and threatening my children and
what for? Like what?
Rape threats. Just because I'd say things like, I think Mark Latham really needs to pull his head in on attacking Rosie Batty, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They just get so nervous when a woman pops her head up. They worry that all of us are going to turn all of a sudden. It's like, no, get back down where you belong.
Yeah, it's just Mark I'm angry at, not everyone with a penis.
And I love men. Most of my friends are men, as you know.
I do know.
I adore men. And so I was starting to grow tired of that. So I was writing a weekly column and it was doing really well. I was the highest read columnist. I was beating Andrew Bolt, which was kind of made me happy. And then I was on that music quiz, that Channel 7 big music quiz where there's just so much unnecessary dancing, and I apologise for the dancing if you saw it. Darren McMullen said I was a hilarious nightmare to work with. She was great. She derailed things. Everyone was laughing, and it was all very lighthearted.
Benefit of the doubt context.
It was all very lighthearted.
Yeah.
And then the place that I work for, that I've given all my content to, that my husband and I wrote a joint column, chose a headline, Rusciano is a nightmare to work with. And I just felt like, nah, this is friendly fire.
So did your agent try to talk you out of being impulsive and reactive?
Yes. Yep, everyone tried to talk me out of it. But there's been a few decisions in my life that I've been really clear about. That was not having the abortion, leaving my breakfast radio job in Perth, starting stand-up comedy, and quitting that column. Sometimes I have these clouds parting moments, and there are usually decisions that everyone's like, no, that is a bad decision. And there's something in my gut runs through the middle of me and says, do it.
Tell me about you and Scott. It's been an interesting 16 years.
Daily struggle.
You and I have talked about marriage a lot privately,
we have.
And how you've got to make decisions to stay married all the time.
All the time.
And not making a decision is often a decision to not stay married.
No. And it's hard.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like you're not persecuted but judged for staying. I think now a lot of society is geared toward, you go, girl, you get out of that relationship, you leave that man, he doesn't appreciate you, find someone else. I'm like, I don't want to find someone else.
It's easier to do that. I shouldn't say that. Sometimes it's easier to do that.
Well, I feel like it's harder to stay when you know there's massive fault lines and cracks. It's harder to stay.
So why stay?
Because I love him and I trust him.
But is love enough?
No, it hasn't been a couple times.
I didn't know you guys split up again 6 months ago.
We did. We split up and I didn't tell anyone.
No.
Couldn't. Because I was in the midst of a huge stand-up tour and I had to be able to keep it together on stage. So we were living in this horrible silent prison. He moved up the other end of the house. So we were living together but in separate bedrooms, which we've kept. Now we're back together. I'll never go back to sharing a bed with him full time.
Yeah.
It's the best.
There's a lot to be said for
I don't
it.
know how people have coped. If you are fortunate enough to have a spare room in your house, which we do, Scott has a room, I have a room. He visits me a couple of times a week. We spend the night on the weekends. But during the week, I need my sleep. We say, good night, come here, we'll read next to each other and he'll go.
Did you not sleep well together?
No. I'm a really, really light sleeper and he's a really, really deep sleeper.
Well, I'm the opposite.
Oh, you sleep deep?
I could sleep now.
Oh, no.
If you just stop talking for a minute. Or not even. You don't even have to stop talking. I'll just put my head on the desk. You keep going and I'll have a little nap.
No, I'm a terrible sleeper.
Yeah, that's hard.
So that's been good. But yeah, we split up and it was horrible. It was horrible. And the day came for him to go. We set ourselves a time limit when my tour was over and he was going and I said, I don't want you to go. He's like, I don't want to go either. So
your girls have been old enough in the 2 times that you've split to know what's going on.
Completely.
Yeah. How have you involved them through that? How have you explained it to them? How
Just
have
been
you
honest.
supported them?
Yeah, I've just been really honest. I think my girls and I are very close. Some say too close.
What does that even mean, though?
I don't know. I get that all the time. But the people say, oh, you and Marcella, you can't be a friend. I'm like, well, you know
That's
what?
not true.
She's 15. She's a state-level athlete. She's on an academic scholarship. She's going to be running for school captain. She's an incredible human. She volunteers. She helps me with her younger sister. She cooks dinner twice a week. She does my washing. She tucks me in some nights. Where am I going wrong here with this kid?
It's not like you're Dina Lohan out
No.
doing blow in the club.
And I'm not Kris Kardashian selling her sex tape,
No.
So I love my kids and they're my
It's funny
friends.
how people make you feel bad about that. I get the same. My son's my friend too.
Yeah.
My eldest. And I really love my 2 young ones as
course.
well. They'll be my friends.
They'll
in a
be your
couple of
friends.
years.
And I love all her friends. I love being around all the teenage girls.
Yeah.
I love them.
It's good fun, isn't
It's the
it?
best. And I learn so much because it's important for me to keep learning and keep evolving, especially when I'm creating stuff because I really want to get the next generation of girls. I want to be their
Millennials.
person. I want to be the millennials person. I want to be the person the millennials want to grow up to be. And I'm already that for Chella's friends. I see that. And Chella's proud of me. Everyone's like, oh, you must be. Even Carrie on the project said, oh, Chella must be so embarrassed. And I kind of went along and went, oh, yeah, I'm talking about pubes. But Chella.
Is her dad embarrassed?
No.
Odie's not embarrassed
No.
either.
They're the first people. Chella is the first person to like my posts and play my songs to her friends.
What
and
about boundaries, though? What about when you have to...
I have boundaries, believe it or not.
So what are they?
I know. I always ask the girls' permission before I talk about an incident that's happened to them. And I always ask permission before I post a photo or a video. Chella sometimes says no. Scott always says no, but then sometimes Scott's in a bit of a performing mood and he'll go, hey, do a video.
Isn't it funny that because I'm the same, you and I didn't grow or didn't have kids at the time, little kids, at the time when there was social media. So we didn't have to make that decision about posting photos of them. But there are a lot of celebrities who do have to make that decisions and some decide to post a lot and some decide not to post at all. And I don't know. What do you think?
I always go back and forth on that.
I just think it's hard for them to know what we know now, which is there'll be a time when they won't like it, but you can't get those photos back.
That's the thing. That's what I'm worried about.
So you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Nah.
So if your cute little celebrity kid becomes, Pixie Curtis or whoever, becomes 8 and says, I don't want that out there, you can't get it back.
I know. I agree. And that haunts me, especially with Odie. But my Instagram, there's like 4 pictures of them out of the 3,000.
Yeah, same.
So I mean, every now and then I get a pang and I'll delete a whole bunch because I'm worried.
I think also for you and I, though, there's something about, because we often get attacked, or you don't get attacked so much, we did when you're at news.com. So there's something about having your kids out there that would make you feel very vulnerable.
Me too.
Or that does. So I feel like, look, I'm always told I'm polarizing. Do you get that as well?
Oh.
Women polarizing.
No, but
what
our
does
opinionated
polarizing even mean?
Men don't get called that.
No, I know.
Men don't get called polarizing or opinionated or difficult.
I know.
Get stuffed.
I know. It's annoying, but I never want to index my kids to that. But anyway, so back to the boundaries and how you explained things about you and Scott to the kids.
Well, I guess we're just really honest and age appropriate. There's only so much Odette needs to know. Martella knows most of it, and they see us at play. They see me doing heaps, resenting Scott going for a ride, then him going for the ride, me having a breakdown at home because I've got 8 million things I've got to do.
You're the breadwinner, right?
Yeah, I'm the breadwinner. Well, Scott works, but I'm the main breadwinner. And So, yeah, they see the imbalance that I was constantly complaining about. They saw his side of things, that I'm always emotional and hard work and moody, and he never knows what he's coming home to. And so they saw both sides. And
isn't that annoying when they see both sides?
Yeah.
My son's the same. Sometimes I'll just want him to totally be on my side. And he's like, no, Mum, look, that's...
Yeah.
He's not being... I'll just go, oh, your father. And he's going, Mum, that was totally reasonable what he said. I'm like,
yeah, Marcella does that all the time.
It's really annoying.
Marcella is the voice of it. She's like, no, Mum, that's not what he said. I'm like,
This was your
it's what he said. It's what he said. No, these are the words he said. Well, that's what he meant. No, it's not. But I don't know. I just...
If he was earning more bread, would you work less?
Yes. I'd say no more. I'm getting better at saying no now.
What do you say no to now that you used to say yes to?
Going on Sunrise.
Oh, God. Breakfast television. I say no to breakfast television too.
No to breakfast television. No to
So
breakfast television.
No, just say no.
Even my publishers this week are like, we really need... I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I say no to endorsements now. I say no to things like, I don't know, toothpaste things or...
What is it with you famous people and your toothpaste? So I had Sam Frost in here. She was telling me, someone else with incredible teeth like you, and she's like, oh, toothpaste, I got offered all this money. I've got great teeth. Why aren't they offering me money?
I'm sure right now Colgate are frantically contacting the business manager at Mamma Mia Women's Network.
It's me. So what would be wrong?
Of course it's you.
What would be wrong with you?
Nah.
Why?
Because I've got to pick and choose stuff, because I value the crew I have accrued. I value the people that follow me, and I don't...
Why do you think that they would think any less of you? You've got the most extraordinary social media following of anyone I know.
I know.
Your engagement levels on Facebook are off the Richter. I look at, you just say... Oh, I just did a fart or something, and you get 20,000 likes.
That is not true.
No, it's funny. That's not fair.
Constance
Something.
Hall gets that.
No, you're right.
She's next level.
No, you do. You say something, but it's funny, but it's just a thought. A thought.
I did it yesterday. And it's had 16,000 likes. And I just said, here's a list of things women over 30 should wear. Number 1, whatever the F she wants, and that's
And that's like 8 billion.
No.
So why do you think that one of those people would care?
Because I value them. I don't know. I wouldn't like it. I've done some stuff. Like, I'm a Nintendo ambassador, but I love Nintendo. I turned down a Diet Coke thing that was...
Do you use toothpaste?
Yeah. I'm not doing it. I turned down a Diet Coke endorsement that would have bought me a house, because I don't want people thinking that I think they should be drinking Diet Coke. And there's McDonald's. There's just stuff. I've got where I am now because...
Burger never hurt anyone.
Nah, my integrity unit says no. My one rule is, which I got from you, is go back to the T when you're feeling unsure, to the centre of the squash court, to the target, to you, to the middle. And so whenever I get endorsement deals come through, I go into the centre of myself and ask myself.
Do you ever find yourself thinking, where are all the good guys? I'm Corinne Grant, and I have some people I'd like you to meet. They've all faced unimaginable battles, and their stories will make you cry, laugh, and cry again.
Had I known about that as an athlete, who knows how much faster I could have run.
From sports heroes to transgender women.
And I've always been a fighter all my life.
Rappers to lawyers.
Don't you know what's happening? Don't you know this is being done in our name?
Pacifists to activists.
You may think you own the land, but the land owns you.
And workers to the wounded.
Putting on a pair of shoes and doing the shoelaces up. I can't do that.
They're fighting for a world that gives everyone a fair go, and they are not giving up.
I've had this battle of being totally accepted for just being me.
That maybe I can choose love, that I can lead with love, that I could be love.
Fighting for fair. True stories of social justice from around Australia. Subscribe in iTunes or the Mamma Mia podcast app.
So you and Scott now.
Yeah, good. We're good today.
Did you go to counselling?
We did. We've stopped because I'm away so much and had to miss so many.
But do you find that helpful?
Yes. Do you know what helped us? He went to counselling on his own.
Oh, that's crucial. That's such a smart thing to say.
His own.
Yeah.
He never has. And it's made him a better husband, because the counsellor is saying the things to him that I know I've said, But hearing it from a man who he really likes, the guy he sees as like the Robin Williams' character in Good Will Hunting, like an old sea captain with an earring and a ponytail and like 60.
Oh, perfect.
And Scott loves him. And they go each week, Tim. And he comes to me and goes, I had a really good session with Tim, I really like him, da-da-da-da. And we'll talk about the session.
That's such an insight, isn't it?
And I'll sit there going, oh, really? He said, you're emotionally detached from things because I'm really. But I love it. And our relationship is now much better because he went to counselling. Because you know what? I've clocked counselling. I've had so much counselling. I know what my problems are.
Yeah.
I know why I have them.
You've got good insight into yourself.
Yes. Whereas Scott's a man and a very heterosexual dude in his 40s. That's not what you do. So that's been the revelation for us, Scott working. And that's not saying Scott had to do all the work. God, no. I had to do.
No, but that was, Jason and I got back together for the same
Really?
reason. He went to counselling on his own. So did I.
Yeah, of course.
But he did. And we actually didn't go much as a couple.
No.
We go now when we need a tune-up.
Yeah, same.
And sometimes we'll each go separately if we need a tune-up. But you're so right about that. I think it's something that most people probably wouldn't understand. And it doesn't mean that, as you say, it doesn't mean it's his fault.
No.
But it more means that there's stuff he needs to sort out without you there.
But we're also walking into couple sessions when they do happen with equal emotional awareness.
Yes.
You know, that's been a big one for us. The equal emotional awareness, because I'm too aware and he was a dude, not aware. So that's been awesome. But today we're good. Yesterday we had a fight. Like, it's day to day, man.
Of course it is.
But I'm not going to give up.
And also, there's no guarantees. And if you do break up, it doesn't mean that it was a mistake. But you've got to fight hard to stay married sometimes.
You really do.
All the time.
All the time. And more people need to say that.
Yeah,
more
do.
people need to say marriage is really hard.
Yeah.
And I always read these articles, marriage shouldn't be hard.
Oh, no.
You should be with someone who makes your life easier. Piss off.
You should be with someone who adds value to your life.
Of course.
And who doesn't make your life worse.
No.
But you got to work at it.
Sometimes
just like
they
you've got
will.
to work at anything that's worth something.
He's the person I go to. Scott is my moral compass.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I was clinging to with Scott. When I'm unsure of something like that I know I'm being reactionary about, like he told me to quit the News Limited column.
Yeah.
He's like, do it.
So he's in that centre of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's my go-to. I've got two people. I've got Michael Lucas and I've got Scott. Michael Lucas, he wrote the foreword in the book, is my best friend. He wrote Offspring. He wrote lots of shows. Wentworth, Party Tricks.
And you were said to be the inspiration behind Billy.
I am
on
Billy.
Offspring.
Yes,
You're Billy.
I am Billy.
You're so Billy.
Apparently. And in his new couple shows, he's got a couple shows coming up where he's just ripped from everything.
You were in an episode of Offspring.
Yes, I was in that episode where Patrick died.
Yeah, that's right. You were doing a haircut. Were you a hairdresser?
No, that was in Please Like Me. I was a hairdresser. I was interviewing Claire Bowditch and Eddie Perfect as about their upcoming music, and that's the episode Patrick died in. He always inserts me in his shows. I was in his movie. I was in Party Tricks. I sang at Roger Corse's party opening. Yeah, Lucas,
he's a good friend to have.
He's my best friend since I was 11.
Oh, wow.
I'd be screwed without him. Absolutely dead in the water, literally, figuratively. He is my everything.
Female friends?
Yes.
How are you going with that?
Good. I'm much better. You'll be pleased to know.
So a few years ago, we had a conversation. You were very nervous about the school gate and other mums, and you didn't know how to be with them. And we had a few pep talks about how to be friends with women, and that went well.
It did.
I'm so glad.
I'm doing well. I have really close. So Zoe Marshall's a really good friend of mine. She's a bloody legend. I love her. Jamila Rizvi and I've become very close. I've got quite a few now. I'm building up. My producer Sarah is amazing. Come very close with her. So yeah, the ladies are stacking up now. It's good.
That's good.
So
and what
funny.
do they give you that your gay friends don't give you?
Nothing. Same. These girls are kind of like gay guys anyway. I don't know. The gays give me a lot. My gays aren't like Michael and Lyndon. They're pretty rock solid dudes who have been in long-term relationships. They're like old women. These two men.
Congratulations,
thank you,
my
Mia
friend.
Friedman.
I can't wait to see what you do next. I'll be listening. I'll be watching. I'll be reading. To buy Em's book, Try Hard, go to apple.co/Mamamia. And that's where you'll also find all of our shows in one place and any books written by the many Mamma Mia team and the people we interview. And while you're there, do me one favour and leave us a 5-star review. No pressure, just 5 stars. Because
That's how people find out about the podcast. And the more people that find out about the podcast, the more we can keep making. So please do that for me. It would really, really help us. If you're listening on Android or on all of our shows in one place, or if you want to do it on Apple, you can download the Mamma Mia podcast app, which is super easy and very convenient. We often do little special extra bits that we drop in there, like tasty morsels. If you have a suggestion for a guest that you'd like to hear me interview on No Filter, or you want to make a comment about today's show, or you just want to tell us something, call the pod phone on 02 8999 9386. And if you want to hear more from me in all kinds of forms, you can subscribe to my newsletter, No Filter, by going to miafriedman.com and hitting subscribe, or by following me on Facebook or Instagram, where I put things out into the world under @MiaFriedman, including outfits that I'm wearing that make my daughter want to dry retch. That's what she did yesterday. When she saw what I was wearing, she actually mimed a vomiting motion. Today's show was produced by Eliza Ratliff for the Mamma Mia Women's Network. The executive producer is Monique Bowley, and the head of entertainment is Holly Wainwright. See you next time.